I'm Frank Garza, and welcome to Here and Abroad, a podcast that follows the U.S. men's national team and their player pool across Europe, MLS, or wherever else they play their club football. On today's show, we're going to discuss the two American players at Dortmund, Gio Reyna and Cole Campbell. And to help me do that, I've invited Patrick Kleinman to join the show. Patrick is an editor and Borussia Dortmund reporter at Kicker. Patrick, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be with you again.
Yeah, as we were just talking, it's been about a year since you last came on, and I was joking that I have a lot of the same questions as before.
And I do have a lot of the same answers.
A lot of the same answers. But I will say this. I will say a couple weeks ago when we first were kind of talking about doing this, I think my questions would have gone in one way. But now, as of this recording, Gio Reyna's started the last two matches for Dortmund, which I found really surprising, to be completely honest with you. I know he's been recovering from injury, but even before injury, he wasn't starting that many matches. And so first question for you is, why is he starting? Why do you think he started these last two matches? And then, how has he looked to you?
Yeah, well, you and me, we were both surprised, to be honest. All of us, all the journalists around Dortmund were a little surprised that he was suddenly in the starting lineup against Barcelona, of all teams. So a very important game against a big team. And there was a very brave decision by coach Nuri Sahin. And I would say his performance was average, I would say. He had a few impulses in attack, but not huge influence on his team's game. They lost 3-2 in the end. That wasn't his fault, but he wasn't that much of a player who get into the game as well. So, but obviously something the coach saw in him. So he started again a few days later against Hoffenheim, and then he even scored a goal. So good times for Gio Reyna. I think it's first goal for Dortmund since May 2023. Well, so 1.5 years ago. So huge step for him, you could say. And although it wasn't enough to win in the end against Hoffenheim, 2 games in a row in the starting lineup, there was a feeling he didn't have for a long time. So you can tell that he is still far away from the old Gio Reyna. We know well here in Germany, but he tries hard. He wants to have the ball. He wants to initiate scenes. But he clearly lacks match practice and that certain feel for the game on the pitch that you can't have with that many pauses.
Yeah. I mean, did the coach get into in his press conferences at all why he made that decision to start him and what the rationale was?
Yeah, well, he's a player who can give something to the game. He has certain qualities with the ball. He can score, as he showed against Hoffenheim, although he didn't show that for a long time now. But he is able to always score a goal. He's someone who thinks forward, who always wants to play to the goal. And I think those were qualities the coach wanted to see. And as he told us, he trained really well the last weeks after he recovered from his injury. So those were points, that made him give him the chance, and the opportunity to have another game starting.
Yeah, and it was a really nice goal that he scored. I mean, he really sent a rocket into the roof of the net, and that was a really good goal. So hopefully we'll get some more starts. I should mention that you and I are recording this a few days before Dortmund plays. Jeez, who is it? Wolfsburg. Yeah, Wolfsburg.
Last game of the year.
Last game of the year, and then they'll go on a winter break for a while. So if anything happens in that Wolfsburg game, we won't be able to catch it here. So, one of the questions that I think comes up with Gio every transfer period, whether it be winter or summer, is he going to stay at Dortmund? Is he going to go? Last winter, he did leave, on loan with Nottingham Forest. What's the talk around him this winter? Do you see him sticking around or trying to get a move somewhere?
There is not so much talk, to be honest. The season so far, it hasn't been going so well for him. As you said, he spent 6 months on loan at Nottingham Forest, half the year, the first half year of this year. and only got a little match practice there as well. Some disappointment behind him when he came back, when he returned to Dortmund in the summer. And then he was actually more of a candidate who might leave the club. But he put in a good preseason. He impressed the new coach, Nuri Sahin. And then, well, something happened that has happened to him so often in the recent years. He sustained another muscle injury in mid-September, again with the national team. This is also a recurring situation. And that really set him back. It was very sad when he came back because he was sad, the coach was sad because he told us that Reyna was getting closer and closer, getting into his stride, and that came to an abrupt halt, obviously. But, and that now I'm referring to your question, since the squad is not very big and he's now finally getting match practice, I don't think he will move in the winter. You know, like especially because they need every player right now. They have lots of injuries, and since he came back, he's got to be a more important factor to the team, to the whole squad. And to be honest, he hasn't offered himself to other clubs in the last few years, neither in Dortmund nor in Nottingham. And I think the coach has some faith in him. Was a very good path in the summer, and had some more positive energy with him. Laughed a lot, brought good energy, trained well, and that was something that hasn't happened always in the last few years. So I think he's going to get another try at Dortmund for the rest of the season at least.
How was this loan to Nottingham Forest kind of seen by, I guess, the club? I think most U.S. fans saw it as a disappointment, a failure. I mean, how did the club see it, do you think?
Pretty much the same. I think when they gave him away in the winter, they had two hopes. The hope number one was that he comes back as a strong player with match practice, with a lot of confidence. And then you would have had two opportunities: to sell him for good money or to have back a new player. And that didn't work out in the end because he came back as probably the same player he left, disappointed and without match practice, and just not in a good mental shape because he wasn't able to get some self-confidence, some fulfillment. That made the situation not better, maybe worse.
Yeah. I mean, I personally would be really surprised to see him go. I mean, I think he's going to want to get some stability. You know, he hasn't had stability in so long, with the injuries, with that loan that we just talked about. I could see him just really wanting to hunker down at Dortmund, fight for his place on the team, fight for minutes, stay healthy, prove what he can do. And then he'll have to take an honest look at things, in the summer. Sure. And kind of assess the situation, because, I mean, this next European season, 25-26 is the most important one for him with regards to his World Cup. And so he has to make sure he's in a good place, for that season. And I'd be surprised, but you never know. There's a lot of talk over here of him. I think a lot of fans, wanting him to kind of move on. But we'll see.
Yeah. Well, the other question is, where would he go? Because I think he might not be the best player for the English Premier League, to be honest. Maybe something like Italian League or La Liga in Spain is more suitable for him because he isn't that much of a physical player. He has his qualities in playing with the ball and being someone who initiates attacks, who's very strong with his technique. And maybe his qualities will be better in a different league. Especially compared to the Premier League in England. Yeah.
I mean, I've wondered, and I've heard a lot of fans kind of wonder as well, should he try to take a step back, even go to the Eredivisie or something like that, try to play for a PSV, Ajax, Feyenoord, somebody like that, to get regular playing time, be kind of the man, and then maybe with that, he can make a step back up to the Bundesliga or the Premier League or one of these top teams that I know he wants to play for, but it just hasn't, worked out for him. so
Sure.
far.
Yeah, other players did that. Look at Mario Götze, who did the exact same thing. He played for PSV Eindhoven for, I think, 2 years before he came back to the Bundesliga, to Frankfurt, and that did him some good because he was able to gain confidence. And sometimes that's all it needs, because his qualities, you can't discuss them because they are there, but he needs to show them.
Yeah. So, for the rest of this season, who is he competing with for minutes on a week in, week out basis? Like, who's playing ahead of him? Who's he kind of fighting for that playing time?
Yeah, well, as I told before, Dortmund's squad does indeed have some large gaps in some areas on some positions. They currently have huge problems in the central defense. They also are very thin on the fullback position, but that's like the worst thing to hear for Reyna. But in central midfield, however, there's quite a lot of competition. Before the season, Pascal Groß, a German national player, came from Brighton, who can play the 6, the 8, the 10. I think the other positions the same. So all the central midfield positions, very good. Pretty much everything in the center. There is the captain, Emre Can, who usually plays position number 6, although he has been in poor form and now has to help out in the back. And, on Reyna's position for the forward, they are occupied by Felix Metscher, Julian Brandt, both German nationals, Marcel Sabitzer, an Austrian international. So, there is a lot of competition. And after a tactical change a few weeks ago, they changed from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3. There is no longer a classic 10, like the position isn't there, at least on the match board. And that would be probably the best position for Reyna. So his position would be the 8, but as I told, there are some good players who wants to play there as well. So Julian Brandt was injured in the last week, so that was something that gave Gio Reyna the chance to play there. But he will come back probably next weekend, so we'll have to see how much match practice he will get there. And I don't see him in any other position, to be honest, because outfield, the wings are not his best position, and Dortmund is very well prepared there. So where else would he play?
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because we have that conversation here about him on the U.S. men's national team, is because when I first started seeing Gio play for the U.S., it was on the wing. We played in like a classic 4-3-3, and Pulisic would be on one wing, Reyna would be on the other. Then he got injured, missed most of World Cup qualifying for 2022, and never really got that place back because Tim Weah got it, and then they started playing Gio more as the central midfielder, and so that's what you see at Dortmund as well. Is him not having much success on the wings, but just that central midfield role being his best.
Yeah. If I compare him to the wingers Dortmund has, people like Jamie Gittens, Karim Adeyemi, they were very fast players. They are good in one-on-one situations. They have a lot of speed, and they just have a very different profile to what Gio Reyna brings on the field. He can play that. I don't doubt that, but it doesn't fit to the positional qualities the coach wants to see at Dortmund. He wants to see players who can win one-on-one, one-on-two easily. And that's not something, he's not the player to go deep all the time. He's not slow, but he's not that fast. So those are the things I think make it pretty difficult for him to fulfill the position, as well as his competitors does it now.
Yeah. What about the overall kind of, mood or feeling from the management team? Both the coach, but then like the more, sporting directors. I mean, at one time Gio was really seen as this maybe like future star. It seemed like I heard that he was potentially seen as Marco Reus's replacement. One day, and now these last couple of years with all these struggles, I mean, has the club given up on him at all? I mean, have you sensed any type of change in how they see his like long-term future or potential with the club?
They haven't given up on him exactly, but I think they are not planning with him as well. He could be the big surprise coming from behind, finally doing the things he showed before and giving the team all his qualities, but no one, in my opinion, as I see it, is still expecting that from him. He's kind of a surprise player right now, like the one. Maybe some people always, not inside of the team or inside of the club, but maybe outside of the club, almost forgot over the last years because he hasn't played so much, and every time you think he's back, he's injured again. So that has happened a few times, and that makes you lose confidence in a player because, he has to show what he can, and he didn't. And now, if he shows it, everybody will be pretty surprised because no one is expecting it that right now.
Yeah. Well,
it's sad.
It is a little sad. It is a little sad.
That's what happens if you have like almost 3 years, I think, of injuries, and I think half a year that was pretty good in between, but otherwise,
it's been a long time. I mean, I remember it. It was. I think it was. He started in the first World Cup qualifying match for the 2022 World Cup, which probably took place in like 2020, 2021. Yeah. And then he got hurt, and he's never been consistently on the field, since then for club, or country. And so we're talking almost 4 years, that this has been going on.
I mean, we can't forget he's still only 22. That's amazing.
That's true. It seems like he must be much older.
Like he's playing for 10 years. So, he's still only 22. He's still got most of his career, hopefully most of his career in front of him. But still, he lost a few years. It's sad, but it's the truth.
Well, the good news is if it doesn't work out with Gio and he does leave, there's another American I can still call you and bug you about from time to time. So Cole Campbell has, I guess, I don't know if he made his debut this season. He did. Okay, yeah, but he's now kind of regularly on the bench, on the field day squad. Hasn't got a lot of minutes, but has got some. And I'm just curious, what have you thought about him so far as a player?
Yeah, that's kind of funny because I've seen him 2 preseasons already. Last winter, like a year before in Marbella in Spain, and this summer in Bad Ragaz in Switzerland, because he was in the squad for both of the preseason training camps. And I was not the only one who was extremely surprised at how well he performed there, because he's a fearless player. He's really strong at dribbling, has a lot of drive towards the goal, like simply a wing player who is a lot of fun to watch and who can decide a game on his own, because he's not afraid to go against 2, 3, 4 players. And he's currently showing that in the under 23s in the 3rd division, the second team of Borussia Dortmund, who is also playing professional football in Germany. So he can prove himself at a really good level. I think he played around 8 games, scored 2 goals, provided 2 assists. So that's pretty awesome, pretty good for a young player who just came out of the youth teams. And above all, he caused a lot of excitement. And that was really impressive. He did a lot on the field. You can always depend on him to be a troublemaker as a winger. So that was fun to watch.
Yeah. So I mean, how is he being utilized by the team right now? I mean, he doesn't get a lot of minutes, but would they bring him in if they needed a late goal or something like that, because he can cause that havoc, or how is the team utilizing him right now?
Yeah, well, as I told before, they had a lot of problem with injuries. They almost, I think, at the worst times, they only had 11 professional players in the squad left. So they had to bring in a lot of players from the youth teams and from the under 23s as well. And I think he might have been the one who got the most minutes during that time, because some of the other wingers were injured or maybe not in a good shape. And he didn't play that much. I think he got like around 45 minutes, about 20 minutes in the Bundesliga, and around 45 minutes in the Cup in Wolfsburg, because they went into extra time at that game. So he's currently not playing too much. And he has some players in front of him. I told that earlier when we talked about Gio Reyna, like Jamie Gittens and Karim Adeyemi, who have both really good, strong season. and who obviously have more experience at this level despite their young age. So, he used to be kind of the young super sub, if you want. So like, as you said, to bring some havoc into the game. But now that the other wingers are coming back more and more, I think his minutes will become less. He will be a permanent player in the second team, but he has to prove himself there to make the next step, to be persistent, a constant member of the professional squad, because there is a lot of competition. We're talking about Borussia Dortmund, which is like one of the best European teams still, even though they're struggling a bit in the league, who played the Champions League final in May. So that's not the easiest club to make the breakthrough.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he did an interview over here a couple weeks ago that kind of got a few people's attention. They asked him what his goals were, what his long-term goals were, and he says, "I want to win a Ballon d'Or. I'm going to win the World Cup. I'm going to win Champions League, final." I mean, did those comments make it over to Germany at all?
No, I haven't heard that before, but I would have probably put it under, well, this is the American dream. always to reach for the best possible, and I think that's a quality. I mean,
does he come across as a really confident kind of kid? You've mentioned the word fearless a few times. I mean, does he have that kind of aura?
On the pitch. To be honest, I couldn't say anything about him like as a private person, about his personality. I think he has some confidence inside of him, as the comments in the US press said. And just because a player with confidence on the pitch normally has some confidence off pitch as well. So, but yeah, I think it's good. He's a young player. He needs to have goals and ambition. Would be sad if he once said, "Yeah, well, I don't want to be second in World Cup and third in Ballon d'Or." So
yeah.
Always reach for the stars,
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's what I heard a lot of folks here say. I'd rather him have that kind of opinion about himself than not like shoot high enough. So it's going to be exciting to see.
You have to talk the talk and you have to play the game. So that's like you have to fulfill your your announcements. So that's what it all depends on.
Yeah. Quick question for you on more of the club. I mean, the coach, Nuri Sahin. I mean, do you have the confidence that he's going to last the full season? Is there any chance he doesn't make it? I mean, you mentioned they're struggling a little bit in the league. They seem to be doing awesome in the Champions League, but struggling a little bit in the league. I mean, is there any pressure on him right now?
Yeah, there is pressure. There used to be even more pressure a few weeks back. He has got the backing inside of the club because, he used to be a player for the club. He has a good personality to be a top class coach because he's very straight. He doesn't do politics inside of the club. He's got a clear plan in his head. I think he's got a good attitude. He can speak. He can convince people. But most important are results, and that's where it lacks at the moment. You can always say it's the players, it's the coach. Maybe it's both properly, but it doesn't work out so far. You are not able to see so much of what he expects of the team, what he was planning in the summer, what he told us as reporters, what he wants to see on the pitch, and there are a lot of problems in Dortmund's game so far, offense-wise, defense-wise, all the injuries. So. Yeah, the most important thing in Dortmund always is, will the qualification for the next Champions League season be in doubt? If that's seriously in doubt, then every coach in Dortmund will have a problem because that's money the whole club depends on. You have a huge club with a lot of expenses, huge salaries, and if you don't make the cut for the Champions League and you have to play Europe League, there is a big financial gap in your planning, so that will be always the most important factor. But we will see. I think he will have more time than maybe any other coach who would have come from the outside, who wouldn't have that history with the club. But a few weeks ago, we had serious doubt that he will make it over the next few weeks or months. But by now, he still has all the backing of the club.
Yeah. Any chance you're going to be coming to the U.S. next summer for the Club World Cup?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
probably.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Well, we haven't figured out all the details so far. We only know that they will be playing 2 games in Cincinnati since a few weeks ago. I think 2 weeks ago, maybe. So we are in the plannings right now. One of us, my colleague or me, will probably be coming to the US for the games, but well, I didn't tell my wife yet, so.
Well, Cincinnati is a good place to go.
It has a large German community, right?
I don't know about that. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But I can tell you from like I've been there once, and I thought it was a really lovely city. It shouldn't get as hot in the summer there as some of these, like if Dortmund was playing in Texas or something, where I am, and so I think it's just a good summer spot.
I think the third group game will be in New Jersey, I think.
Okay, another good spot.
That's a good spot, close to other cities as well. So yeah, should be fun. But well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
There will always be chance to go to the US with Dortmund because they had a preseason last year there with a lot of cities to cover, and they still will be over there every third summer, I guess, because it's a very important place to do marketing for the German football.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, Patrick, I will make sure and put links in the show notes to your X account, which is at @P_Kleinman, and also to your work at Kicker. Thank you so much for coming back on the show today.
Thank you, Frank. It was a pleasure, as always.
Well, I'll be back. I'll be back. I'll be back with more questions in the future.
Yeah, I'll make sure that Dortmund will always have a US player in the squad.
Oh, excellent. Well, thanks so much to everyone for listening to Here and Abroad. If you enjoyed the episode, please do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or that follow button if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or somewhere else. Thank you so much. I'm Frank Garza. You can follow me on X at FrankGarza007, and I'll be back next week with a new episode.